You're listening to the Mopcast Network.
Now from Inverse Press, The Absentee. When a test pilot returns from an interdimensional quest to find a new energy source, he finds himself possessed by a demon. He learns to control the demonic form of his own mind and use its supernatural abilities. But while he is away, the demon uses his body to wreak havoc. Get this terrifying comic written by Kevin Laporte with art by Rando Dixon at inversepress.com. The Absentee.
Welcome to the Cult Movie Cantina. This podcast takes a look at our favorite cult films, introduces them to someone who hasn't seen them,
me,
pairs them with a great alcoholic beverages. She's not here today. And then we talk about it. This week we took a look at Jaws 2. And so that's going to be fun. I'm your Native American pop culture spirit guide, Scotty, and I'm joined by...
Justina, the Jellicle Jester.
Stephanie is not with us. She's out being a witch.
Yeah, she is.
She's in the Macbeth production, so they're in rehearsals. So
super
break a leg.
Get it, girl.
This week, though, we have a guest, filmmaker and a writer whose current film, Survey, is doing very well in the festival circuit, including winning Best Fantasy Film in the Florence Film Awards. Congratulations and welcome, Steve Wise.
Hey, Scotty, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So tell us about this film of yours.
Well, it's a short film. It's 12 minutes long, and that's about it. No, it's Just 12 minutes of blank screen. No,
it's very experimental.
It's actually a fantasy science fiction action film, and it's set in a time period of nomads. We don't know if it's far future or far past, but it involves this woman who's kind of a nomad, kind of a Clint Eastwood man with no name type of character, except obviously female. And she comes across this young girl who has been orphaned, left in the middle of the woods, has to take her to safety, and along the way, these marauders attack, and she has to fight them. And that's the film.
That's very cool. Very cool. I actually saw an earlier cut of it a while back when you were still working on it, and so what I saw, I really, really enjoyed. So very cool. You were telling me there's a screening coming up.
There is for folks that are in the Pensacola area this Saturday, that's September 14th. At 7 p.m., we're going to be doing a screening at Sam's Fun City, and they have a pavilion that's covered with a nice projector and really nice system. We're going to be doing a cast and crew Q&A after the screening, and we're also going to be featuring a couple other short films made in the area.
Oh, very cool.
Including one by Derek Diamond, who you know.
Oh yeah.
And another by a filmmaker named Nick Smith. That's going to be his Florida premiere.
Oh, wonderful.
And Derek's film has already started racking up some awards also. So so it should be a really nice evening. And we're also going to, after the Q&A, we're going to do a special screening of what I call Survey Noir, which will be a black and white cut in 3D.
How very George Miller of you. Very nice. Your own Chrome edition. I like it.
Exactly.
I like it a lot. Getting those DVD extras out ready to go. I got you on that.
Well, the cinematography by Kevin Almodovar. I apologize, Kevin. I messed up your name again. Kevin
messed up other
Almodovar is just beautiful. And it looks really nice in black and white. So we did that for the 3D conversion, and I was very happy with the way both the color and the black and white versions look.
Oh, very, very cool. Be sure to get out there and check that out. But unfortunately, we're going to talk about not nearly as a cool film as Steve's. We're going to talk about Jaws 2. But first,
I forgot which voice I was going to do already. If you would like to follow us, you can find us on any fine podcast app by searching for the Mopcast Network. Yes? Good.
Sure,
Keep going.
I'm
No, I'm not going to do that. Please
you
subscribe.
don't commit. You're not committing.
And give us a good review. I'm not doing that. Trust us. It helps. It really does. And we love it, too. We love to read all the reviews. Also, you can find us on YouTube at Mopcast. We're all doing a terrible job of speaking. Mopcast Network, where we have our podcasts, videos, mashups, and short films waiting for you to enjoy. Make some popcorn, because popcorn is also delightful. Subscribe and set the alert so you don't miss anything. Nothing. You don't want to miss any of it.
You do not. If you want to find out more about the Cult Movie Cantina, you can join us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/cultmoviecantina. There you can find out the latest movie news, see trailers, play games, including Wrong Title Only, and caption this, talk to other cultists, find out if and when we're doing live shows near you.
I finally played Wrong Title Only.
Did you?
Yeah, because I'm terrible at film, so
right.
I just
This is
play.
the perfect game for you.
Did you see my title?
I do not remember.
Do you want to wait and talk about it in the show, or should I tell you now?
You can tell me now.
You posted that image, so I did shark bait. Hoo ha ha.
Oh. No,
I was so proud of
we
that.
posted a picture of the dead killer whale scene from Jaws 2 and just Wrong Title Only, and so we had some doozies. My favorite was when Harry met Sally, and then there was 50 First Dates. So,
Oh yeah, I saw the 51st. Was that yours?
yes, I was proud of that.
I'm proud of that too. Well done.
Because of the couple coming up and everything, it's crazy.
So if you guys would like to see any live shows, you can find us here at Horror Gross for Halloween Festival on October 26th and 27th. We'll have a table where you can meet and chat with us. I might be in costume. You guys probably.
She'll probably
Plus,
be on
we'll have
skates.
some cool swag to give out and a chance to win cool prizes. I will most definitely be in skates. We'll also be recording a live Cult Movie Cantina episode and also hosting a horror-themed version of our game show. ##.
Last but not least, I have a new comic book out on Kickstarter now. Chronicles Limbo is a science fantasy comic that has lasers, monsters, and other cool things. It's almost ready for print, and all we need is your help getting there. It's written by me and with art by my good friend John Walker. It's a cool story that I've been working on for a very long time, and I'm excited to share it. So we launched on the 8th, and so we got 30 days to raise $2,000, and so we need your help. So please donate, share the campaign with your friends. Easiest way, I learned today that you can Google Scotty White Kickstarter. It's the first thing that shows up.
That's cool.
Because Kickstarter doesn't give you instant, easy links. And that's my big... Should be Kickstarter, at least my names or something.
Yeah.
Or from my account. But no, it makes it difficult. It's like KJ56 dot something. And it's like, you can't say that.
It's like Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's
absolutely terrible.
What is your Wi-Fi password? And you're like, let me just show you the box. I'm not going to do it out loud.
But you can Google Scotty White on Kickstarter, and we should be the top result, or you can check the link in our show notes. Good. All the plugs are done. Now we can get to the show.
My accent was cooler than yours.
Yes,
it was.
It was.
For part of one.
I liked your crazy prospector.
Thanks. It
very
wasn't
tough.
really a prospector. I lost that one.
So our movie is
Jaws 2. The terror continues. In all the vast and unknown depths of the ocean, how could there have been only one?
Harry? Chief? Chief Brody, can we go, please?
I think we may have another shark problem. Are you serious?
Roy Scheider,
Hey, look, there's my dad! The whole beach looks incredible.
Lorraine Gary, and Murray Hamilton.
Look at this. That's a shark. Look, Brody, you started a panic on a public beach. Now, what if somebody decides to sue us? That's a shark. Did you ever stop to think about that?
And I know what a shark looks like because I've seen one up close. And you better do something about this one because I don't intend to go through that hell again.
Don't press it this time.
Mike is out there.
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with
with the reality of Jaws.
And Steve, what's your relationship with Jaws? I know you're a huge Jaws fan because
Jaws is my favorite movie.
Yeah, you and I were talking about how much you love Jaws, and then I was like, "Can we do Jaws 2 on this movie?" Which is it's like, oh, you like your favorite. We want to do the other one.
Is that the same as like the Star Wars, where you're like, "Can we do the new 3?"
Right.
Yeah, and they're like, "What?"
Well, I actually saw Jaws 2 before I saw the first movie.
Oh.
And because I was a little kid at that time, and I was way too young to see the first film. But by the time that the second film came out, I was at an appropriate age where my parents let me go see it. But by that point, all of my friends generally were older than me, and they had already seen the first film and told me every single detail about it. And, I mean, we would go play Jaws out in, neighbor's backyard. They had this trailer that was the orca. And,
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. So I knew the movie without seeing it.
So
And
first of all, you're the first child I've ever known, first person I've ever known. We played Jaws. That's awesome.
So when Jaws 2 came out, I saw that and absolutely loved it.
Right.
And then they re-released the first movie in the theaters before putting it on television. And it was during the summertime, and I saw Jaws, the first one, 6 times that week.
Wow.
We would stay in the movie theater and just watch it again. And by about the third time, I was able to uncover my eyes during certain scenes. And of course, that really blew me away. But in addition to the movie, one of the first record albums I ever owned that I purchased myself was the soundtrack to Jaws 2.
Oh, well, John Williams. I mean, it's a good choice.
John Williams.
Good choice there.
So, I knew the music as much as I did the video from it. And so that was my introduction to the world of Jaws.
Oh, that's cool. Jaws, I got introduced very early too as a child. I was living in Texas with my mother, and I was in daycare, and I was one of the older kids in daycare. I was before school age, but I wasn't really small. And so I remember they had split the kids up to the little kids and then the not so little kids. And so they basically pacified us with movies, but they didn't care what we watched, everything. And I saw Jaws twice. Well, once and a half. We watched 1 week. I remember watching the whole thing. And then the next week they were like, we'll just watch Jaws again. And they had this rule where it was like, well, if the movie's too scary, you can go, we'll get you to the other room. Well, all the cool toys were in the other room, and there was no toys here. So I was like, I'd watch half of Jaws and go, I'm scared. I wasn't scared at all. So I went to go play with the other toys. So I saw Jaws 2 on a sleepover when I was in elementary school and loved it too, because it was like, the ending, especially just the ending, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But it's very super dramatic and weird, and it's like, but when you're like 8, you're like, oh my god, you can fight a shark that way. And so I really got to kick out. This is the first time you've watched it.
Any Jaws, yeah.
Really?
So okay, I have seen scenes from Jaws 1, Jaws, while I was in film school. Like there were certain scenes you had to watch, but I actually commented on the fact that we started watching it and then the music started playing when the shark showed up. And that's the first time I heard the music, not as a joke, actually in the movie. I was like, oh, hey, I know that sound. So it was interesting. I wasn't confused, which was nice. I was expecting to be lost, having not seen the first one, but you don't have to see them together, which was nice.
No, the only thing that you really need to know about it is there had been a shark, and Chief Brody fought the shark, and that's pretty much all you need to know.
They kind of wrap that up a little bit, where it's like, you can't do this every time, and he's like, I'm not going to live through it again, and you're like, oh, so this happened before. Yeah. Okay, cool. Jaws. There's Jaws.
Well, let's get into this thing, and I will lean on your Jaws expertise on this, and because I butcher French names all the time, or names in general.
Jeannot Swark.
Swark. Is that Swark? I got Jeannot, but Swark was different. So Jaws 2 was directed by Jeannot Swark, written by Carl Gottlieb and Howard Slackler, based on characters created by Peter Benchley. Starring Roy Scheider, who I absolutely love as Chief Brody, Lorraine Gray as Ellen Brody, Murray Hamilton as the mayor, and a whole slew of teenagers. Just a slew of them.
Yeah, there were
like
a lot
an
of
island full of teens.
doing what they want too.
So
Different times.
how would you sum up this film?
Okay, well, okay. Summer camp gone wrong, pretty much. Kids attend a summer camp, but the parents are there as the counselors. Sharks attack.
Gotcha.
Yep.
How would you synopsis this?
This is going to be so much better than mine.
Yeah, because
Maybe let me approach it from this direction, and I did not originate this. I'm stealing it from someone else, but the first movie is classic man versus nature,
Right.
Going out against the great beast. The second movie is a dead teenager film.
it's straight up a 70s slasher film.
Although, I mean, when you really look at it, it really isn't. I mean, there's 2 deaths,
Right.
but by and large, most of them live. So
That's
it's
true.
really more of almost a disaster movie on sea.
Right, I got you. But I think it's set up like a slasher. Like it's
It
shot
is.
like a slasher film.
is,
It's,
yeah.
I mean, Halloween came out the same year, but it's got that kind of same feel. It's just in the daylight.
It's a PG Friday the 13th on water.
Yeah, I won't go with that. So my official synopsis is: 4 years after a terrible shark incident, the island of Amity is dealing with disappearing boaters and other mysterious circumstances. The town police chief is on the case, but no one believes him that there's a shark loose. He shoots up the beach. But lo and behold, there is a shark. And now the former chief has to rescue his kids before the shark eats them. Dun, dun, dun. Yum.
Is it dun 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 or should I be like dun
Dun,
dun?
dun, 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 dun. I think I owe John Williams money now. I'm not sure how that works. All right. So the way we do this, we have this is the part of the show called The Sermon, where we summarize the film itself, and we'll stop along and talk about it as we go along. So welcome to Amity Island. A great place to vacation. Enjoy some big hair and cool times while living in the late 70s. Well, unless you're a teenager, an underwater photographer, a skier, or one who drives a ski boat, then that your life for you isn't great.
Listen, she did that to herself, okay? Like, first of all, who has like gallons of gasoline and then just lights herself on fire? Like, that wasn't even the shark. She did that to herself.
Oh, we'll get to it. Trust me when
Okay.
we cover
Yeah,
that.
I love the fact that she has this huge tank of gas in
Pours
this
it all
boat,
over.
Poured it on her
as opposed to just keeping it in her garage or boat
Yeah,
deck
yeah.
or whatever. No, she has to bring it. How long are her boat journeys going to be that she
I
needs
was
to
gonna
fill
ask,
up?
like, in that time, did you run out of gas quickly? Did she need? Because there was more than
She's
one
going all the way
too.
to Canada.
She had a couple of them.
She's going away to Canada. Our story opens with 2 divers who are checking out the sunken wreckage of the Orca, the boat from Jaws, if you don't recall. They're taking photographs and being all cool when they're attacked by a great white shark. And, well, you know how it goes. What goes underwater stays under the water. Well, except for the camera that took some wild shots of people being eaten. Luckily, that camera will be found by the police. More on that later. Amity has a new fancy dancy hotel being opened, and it's big deal for everyone, and everyone is invited to check it out, including Chief Brody, resident shark killer and keeper of the peace, who is also very, very late to the party, like super late to the party.
Honking his horn the whole way.
Getting dressed as he's driving.
Yeah.
He's just Brody's wife is running the shindig with for her boss Lynn, and who is the developer of the hotel. We have a ribbon cutting ceremony over the pool, not by a door, which I thought was weird, by Tina, who is Miss Amity, who will pop up later in the film. So so we got this party going on. There's a high school band playing,
Which he thanks repeatedly.
yes.
Every time they play, he's like, "Thank you, band."
Well, the mayor is kind of. He's been accused of being sleazy. I've read reviews and stuff, and no one. The performance of the mayor is great, but the character, everyone's like, we're kind of shady. I'm like, I get what he's doing.
Yeah.
I get what he's doing. He's got it's a tourist town. He's got to keep the tourists there. So he's like, no shark, new hotel. We got to fill this hotel. So that's what he's really, really. I feel it.
Well, there was actually a cut scene that a little bit later in the film when the town selectmen kind of turn against Brody, that he's the only one that's in support of Brody.
Right.
And they cut it because of pacing, but it's like that's really kind of a nice little thing there.
It's a good character arc for him. You know?
Yeah, because he was really the antagonist, the human antagonist in the first film.
Right.
And he kind of plays that role in this one, but he's still... We've seen that he has grown to the point where, he's in favor of the chief.
Right. He's solely in the favor of the chief.
But we don't because the scene was
he's the cut was short. Where was I? So Miss Amity, who will pop up later in the movie. Now we follow a bunch of teenagers doing a bunch of teenage things. We got the Brody's son, Mike, who mysteriously grew up a lot from Jaws 1. He's like 17. Jaws 1, he's like 11. I mean, just time travel, man. Time travel. Larry Jr., the mayor's son, Brooke and her cousin Jackie, and some nerdy teenage guys, and blah, 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 more faceless stains. They like sailing, and it's an island. What else is there to do?
Can we talk about sailing real quick? Can
Yes,
we talk about those sailboats?
Yes, we can definitely talk about the sailboat.
How much does a sailboat cost in that time? And why is it every single teenager house? Is that like the equivalent of getting a car? Like you didn't get a car, you got a sailboat in Maine?
Well, it's kind of funny. If you watch the making of Jaws 2 on the DVD, they address that very issue because
do they?
the Jeannot Schwartz, the director, basically either he or Carl Gottlieb basically looked at it as during that time period, cruising was really big, where teenagers had their cars and would just cruise around town.
Right.
What do you do on an island? You cruise in a sailboat.
That's neat. I will say.
So did teenagers really cruise in their sailboats back in I guess Nantucket?
No idea.
It's the same thing, just a different way to do it.
I guess. I mean, and that's what they look like. They're just tooling around on the water. I mean, they're enjoying themselves. That's fine.
As a parent, I don't know if I get it's a different time, like than it was back then, and kids just went and did what they wanted to. They'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna go just sail on the ocean with your friends? Cool, bye. See ya. Take the sailboat. Don't crash. No,
don't sink. It's all right."
No one's wearing a life vest ever except for the Chief's kids.
Yeah.
Like they're the only ones that are ever in life vests.
Yeah, that's true because Chief Brody raised them right.
That's right.
He's not good with boats either, so I don't think he really likes the water, especially after the incident in Jaws. I don't know why he didn't quit and be like, "I'm done."
Well, it's funny because he was scared of boats in the first movie.
Right. Oh yeah.
But because of the events that happen in the film, he's okay now getting into a boat, even though he's not good with it.
Oh, he's terrible with it.
He's okay at getting into one.
See, I assumed that his boat thing came after the first movie. Not having seen that one, I assumed that he didn't like them because of whatever happened in the first movie. I didn't realize he was also scared in that one, too. I just thought that traumatized him.
Yeah, he was not fond of boats.
It's good to know. Interesting.
Next, we have Terry, a water skier, and her friend Diane, who's driving the boat.
Diane. That sounds like a name of someone who would pour gasoline on themselves.
They're all doing their thing when the Great White just straight up and eats Terry, just straight up. We don't really see a lot. There's a lot of cool camera angles and stuff. There's no blood, but he just straight up eats Terry.
It's a fast-moving shark.
It is a fast-moving shark. Caught up to that boat real quick. Diane then can't find her friend because it just got straight eaten up, and she starts looking for her, giving New Jaws, who I'm going to call for the rest of the movie, New Jaws or Jaws 2, a chance to straight up eat her boat. However, Diane is clever. She douses herself with gasoline and the shark too, grabs a flare gun, and blows herself up. Not before chawing New Jaws and giving that bitchin' scar, because chicks like scars. Luckily, there's a witness, and that gets Chief Brody on the case. Oh, he's got we have props so that we can't see what we'll take pictures of.
It doesn't do too well for audio only, but I'm looking at the Mad Magazine version of Jawed 2. And
Jawed 2. Oh.
And they actually address the woman blowing herself up, where she says, as the fish is attacking her, I know what I'll do. I'll cook it right here.
And she did. Well done. Rest in peace.
So I don't know what the idea was. I get what she's thinking. I will put gas on the shark.
But it's in the water.
I think she was picking it up to hit it.
Do you think so? Was picking up to hit it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was just weak and feeble and poured it on herself.
She picked it up upside down and it.
Yeah.
It didn't have a cap on.
See, different times.
Okay,
Different times. They didn't have to have one. Safety regulations are a lot more strict now.
Oh yeah, they didn't have those safety nozzles
like you have
that
to like
you can't
twist it a
use.
certain way.
Funny enough,
and
safety
then-
novels were invented because of this movie.
Yeah.
No, the way she picks it up, and I guess the way it was shot, it looks like to me she's just pouring it on her. She's just like,
Have
and here's
you
some for the
seen
shark.
that video of like people knocking things over and being clumsy, and it's like, oh, people are so clumsy, but it's so obvious that they're making a commercial about being clumsy that it's like, oh no, and then they hit it and they're like, spilled that water
I have
again.
not seen this.
I'll have to find it.
You find it,
and
we'll
show
post it
you.
in the show notes.
That's what it reminded me of, where it's like you need to accidentally pour it on yourself, and she's like, okay, and then she's like, oh no, pouring gas on myself.
Well, as a filmmaker, I know that it's often difficult to get across on screen character motivations that happen very quickly.
Right.
And, you have to stage things very precisely for the audience to get it.
Right.
And especially if she's picking this up because she's going to hit it over the head, and lo and behold, she picked it up upside down, and the cap fell off, and it poured gasoline all over. And this is supposed to be communicated in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's very quick.
So, yeah, I get it. They just did a clumsy job about.
They're like, we got it, cut, print, let's go. Moving on. Next scene. The PD is on the investigation and pretty much dig around. They found a power cable. Don't want to have all the lights in Amityville go out. We might need to kill a shark later. Next is a weird Cheerios commercial at the Brody's house.
You will eat Cheerios.
Did you notice that?
I missed that.
So it's the morning and they're all having breakfast, and like one kid's like, Sean's like, I want Fruit Loops, and they're like, and Mike's like, you'll have Cheerios, and I want Fruit Loops, and Mike goes, no, you'll have Cheerios. And they kind of puts the box toward right toward the audience so you can buy your Cheerios. Could have been like Cheerios.
Product placement has been around for a while.
That's true, it has, and it was really good product placement. The Brodies feel, the older Brodies, the mom and dad, feel that Mike needs to get a job, but he's got sailing to do. So Mike goes hanging out, sailing with his friends, end up at the lighthouse with his buddies when they find a chewed up orca, and the police are yet called again. Brody is now with a marine biologist who is our stand-in from Richard Dreyfuss because he's busy and he didn't want to do this movie because Spielberg wasn't doing it.
Fair point.
It was a fair point.
Well, even Roy Scheider didn't want to do the movie, but
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one later. So
we'll save that.
yeah, poor Roy Scheider. I love him so much. Found a chewed up orca. Let's see, where was that? Brody is with a marine biologist who is the marine biologist isn't so sure a shark attacked the killer whale. Brody tries to lay down the Jaws Wikipedia knowledge he's got from the first movie, and she's like, "Sharks don't take revenge." She's going to learn that's not true. They did
Until the fourth movie.
The fourth movie.
How many are there?
4.
Okay.
The last one
Is
is
that one
literally called
Revenge?
The Revenge.
Okay.
Jaws: The Revenge. Yeah,
And
that pretty much ended the series.
If I can quickly synopsis that one, Ellen Brody, who's still played by the same actress, they're in the Caribbean. They're like Florida. They're like way south, and the shark comes after her way south.
Oh yeah. Sean, the younger son, gets eaten by a shark, and so she goes to visit Mike, who's in the Bahamas, and the shark follows her.
Yeah.
So those
No,
sharks
that's
are
right.
really against that family.
I hate the Brody family.
Like, there needs to be a fifth one where whatever kid is left, that goes after their kids' kids. Like, it's like many,
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that'd be amazing.
oh yeah.
I'm looking at you guys, Spielberg. Do it.
Let's see. Brody then grounds Mike from the water because he's like, "There's a shark."
He didn't even let him take his boat back.
No,
somebody else had to sail it back.
He'll go get the boat. Brody goes to tell the mayor that they have a shark problem, which doesn't go well because tourism, and we got a new hotel to fill. Brody then, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, Brody suddenly makes poison-tipped bullets. And then tells the second in command to get that film and the camera they found underwater developed. We find out that Richard Dreyfuss can't be in the movie because he's in the Arctic, and so Chief Brody has to take on Jaws 2 on his own.
He's got this.
He does.
He made some bullets.
So next
He's
day,
good.
Brody's in a shark tower, which I didn't know was a thing. They're really a thing. So I learned that while doing research. And he's watching for sharks. There's some investors and bigwigs show up, and the mayor and Lynn are showing them around. And they're all worried that Brody's looking all like he's crazy watching for sharks. It's not good for business.
That little bit bothered me. That they like quickly ushered the people away. They're like, no, it's to measure the weather and stuff. Okay, if I was an investor and there was, if it is a shark tower and they all look the same, like a shark tower, you obviously know that's a shark tower. That's what it looks like. It doesn't matter if there's a person in it or not. You have that there. Wouldn't you feel more comfortable knowing someone's looking for sharks than someone not looking for sharks?
I got you.
That doesn't mean that there is a shark. It means that they're looking. Like, oh, way to be proactive, buddy. Keep an eye out.
Right.
Thank you.
I would invest
good
my money
sir.
here because
I
they
want to do
were
it here
looking
because
at.
if there's a shark, we're gonna know about it.
They're on the ocean where there are sharks in the water. It's not
They didn't
like
hear
a
about
mystery.
Jaws
It's-
1.
Yeah, it's not a secret to anybody.
Ooh, what's in the water?
We have to get out of here quickly. They're gonna find out there's sharks out there.
Well, the good thing that he was up there because he sees a shadow in the water and he rings the bell on the shark tower and scaring the beachgoers. They go crazy left and right. He then runs on the beach waving his gun around and just unloads his poison-tipped death machine into the shadow, which turns out to be a school of bluefish.
Good thing it wasn't a couple kids with a paper fin again.
Right. He's not good. Oh, poor guy.
I assume that's something that happened in the first one.
Guess
Oh, that's
school's
sad.
out.
Spoiler.
That's okay. Spoilers don't count for me.
Or this show.
Most of the movies I haven't seen have been out for a while. I don't feel like it's
Most people
allowed
don't listen to
anymore.
the show going, I can't wait to see this movie.
Spoiler for a movie that was made in 1975.
Right.
That was one of the largest grossing movies ever made.
Yeah, it's true. It created the blockbuster.
Like the store that's no longer around, or are you talking about the blockbuster, the thing?
It was the first major blockbuster, and
Okay.
then Star Wars came in and made it bigger.
It created
but
the summer movie, summer event movie.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if it was like at the actual store blockbuster. Like they were like, you know what? I'm going to make a store where people can watch these movies whenever they want
Because Jaws
to.
is amazing. They just get Jaws.
Yeah.
We'll fill it with Jaws. And like, no, Mr. Blockbuster, we can't do that.
Mr.
You know what? I want to
Blockbuster.
say that one of the first VHS tapes that my family ever rented was Jaws 2.
Was it?
Yeah.
It all comes back around.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, let's see. He gets the photos from the underwater camera, finds one that looks like there's a shark, and he takes it to the town council and starts talking like a madman and about his proof. And, well, that and the shooting on the beach, well, let's face it, mostly the shooting on the beach, they fire him. That's okay. Brody goes off to get drunk because, well, it was the 70s, and that's how we dealt with our problems back then. Next morning, Mike sneaks out of the house, but he's caught by his little brother, Sean, and, well, forces Mike to take him along, so he has to. The teens are all out having fun, sailing, including Eddie and his girl, Tina, who was Miss Amity, and they go off to have a little fun on their own time when Eddie falls over, and, well, his shark food. Jaws 2 even grabs him, takes him for a ride, and bashes him into the boat.
Which is, by the way, the best scene in the movie.
It is the best scene in the movie. It's very common. He just grabs him.
Well, I like that the shark was on this side. No one can see me, but just imagine, okay, there's a boat, and the shark's all the way to the right, and then the kid's all the way to the left, and the girl's like, swim faster! Like, the shark isn't coming, and then just goes, whoop, and then she's still telling him to swim as the shark's right here. Like, just get there quicker? I don't...
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that when I was watching it again last night, and thinking, well, you know, what she should have told him was, stay still and do not move.
Yeah.
Because if the shark is attracted to movement and
Splashing and
vibrations,
sounds.
just stand still or stay still. Don't, just take a deep breath and just hold it and float.
Yeah, but she was kind of useless anyway. She's really good at ribbon cutting. I'll tell you that. She can cut a good ribbon, but, about it. Limited set of skills there for poor Tina. As for Tina, let's say her cheese has slipped off her cracker. She's not very well.
No, she's not.
She's not having a good day. She's found by the police, luckily, and she's saved, but sort of tells the police about the shark. Very Scooby-Doo like. Ghost Freddy. Brady, who still isn't the police chief, still policing and commandeers a police boat to go save his son Mike, who's still out on the water with his buddies. Meanwhile, speaking of Mike and his buddies, they're having fun until Jaws 2 goes chomping and sinking some of the boats, knocking Mike overboard and knocking him out until he's rescued by another passing boat and is barely rescued before Jaws grabs. I mean, just real close before Mike is turned into Jaws 2 food.
Oh, yeah, and the shark kind of snarls,
Right.
too.
The shark looked cool, too. That scar, it's like the Freddy Krueger of sharks. It's
It was a great
badass.
shot with it coming up out of the water and almost chomping on him. And the lip
it's honestly
kind of,
one of the better shots in the film.
Yeah.
Where it really is. It is generally scary. I could see audiences jumping. They agree to take him to an island. Of course, they're stopped by Brody, and Mike tells them that Sean's out there, and Brody's off on his way to save the day. So the teens are in damaged boats, which they hook together. They are now trying to float to Cable Junction, which supplies power to the island. They're
pretty smart for being a bunch of teens.
They are. They got stuff together. I mean, they would not
They
last
had
in the woods.
extra bundles of ropes, and they were throwing it to their friends.
They were very prepared.
Yeah, they were. Props.
They try for the island, and as they do, Brody arrives to try to save the day. The boats are now caught on rocks in the shallowest force of the teens that heads to swim for the island. Sean and Jackie, from Brooke's cousin, who's also not having the best day, are left behind on the boat. Brody climbs on a power cable, bangs on it to distract the shark away from the kids. The shark takes the bait.
Hoo-ha.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I needed something.
I thought it. I didn't say it. I don't.
It's a podcast. You say things you think.
I know. I'm so sorry.
He swims from Brody, leaps into the air, and gets, a mouthful of power cable and sets that sucker ablaze. No more Sharko. The day is saved. The end. Yeah.
That was a very shocking ending.
It was very shocking. I love it. So that's Jaws 2 in a nutshell.
Oh. You lost your microphone.
I did.
Like,
you
were like, that's it. And the microphone was like, done.
So your favorite parts of this movie?
Probably, when Eddie buys it.
Yeah.
That scene is really masterfully done. But the other scene that always stuck with me and it bothered me when I was a little kid, and it still is pretty effective, is when the other girl, when she pushes Sean up on the capsized boat.
I think it's Brooke.
It was a Brooke. Okay, no, the characters' names.
I tried
girl
to get
number 4.
It was seriously, it was all like that because I mean I was going to list a lot, but there's a lot of teenagers, and that's why I just went teenager. But there's a ton of them.
So anyway, she's in the water. She pushes little Sean up onto the boat, and the shark comes up and swallows her whole.
It just eats her. Just
whoop,
eats
she's gone.
Eats her. No. Sean, I like watching Sean struggle too. It's dramatic.
Well, and that kid's expressions are really good. I mean, he's terrified on there, and I mean, he looks like he's traumatized. I mean, he just watched this girl getting swallowed whole by his shark right in front of his face.
All right, and he's like, "Oh, what am I going to do? Just hang on." He does. It works out. I like the guy who I swore was in Friday the 13th Part 3, the big haired curly guy, Mike's friend, who.
Andy.
I
remember that name.
Yeah, Andy.
For some reason.
Who I thought was totally looked like the guy who gives Jason his hacking mask in Friday 13th Part 3.
I don't know.
It wasn't. I IMDb'd it. Because I know that guy. I did not know that guy at all. And so, but yeah, it's really emotional. It's not even his family, but like he takes Sean and hugs him. And it was...
And he starts, like yelling at him. You take that rope. You grab that rope. Yeah, I like that scene.
It's a really good scene. It's a really good scene. How about you?
Oh, I just really love the part where the woman poured the gasoline on herself. That was my favorite.
Well, yeah, it's
it really started everything off with a bang. So
it's a very funny episode, right?
Yeah, it is. Funny episodes are the best episodes.
I like I just like Sheriff Brody, just doing Sheriff Brody. Like he makes poison bullets. I never thought to do that. I don't think that works, but I was watching it. So he's got cyanide and he's got hollow points and he daubs cyanide in the hollow points and he puts wax over it. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a thing.
They didn't actually ever get used to actually work, did they?
No,
because he shot it into the fish.
It seems like it was an interesting thing to do all that effort for him to just shoot it into the ocean and it'd be done, and then be like, well, we're past that next.
So what we didn't see is the poisoned fish that
Well, what we should have saw, because you saw the birds going after the fish he shot. You should saw the birds start to fly and then die.
Right? Yeah.
And he's like, "Sorry, guys. Sorry, I don't know why that happened. That's weird."
And of course, for me, I love the ending. I love watching Jaws to eat the power line, and I've always liked it. It did not hold up as well as I remembered as my childhood. However, I still you get an A for effort for that. I mean, you really do. It's just like...
Well, it's a good thing that the shark came out of the water to bite onto the cable as opposed to going up and biting the little raft that he was in.
Right, because it is clearly an expert at boats, eating boats. It is chomped in a lot of boats this movie, and so maybe it's trying for something different. I don't know.
Like, I'm going to come out of the water and grab the thing that's in his hand as opposed to the thing that's floating in the water.
So, well...
Can I tell you about what was my least favorite?
Yes, please.
Jackie.
Go on.
So, it's like, you meet these teenagers, and they're about to go cruising, and they're all like hanging out like they're cool. And she's like, you have to hang out, go on a blind date with my cousin. You have to go. You have to do this. Like, it's a whole thing they establish. And then her cousin shows up and comes over and they hang out, which she spent the majority of the movie. I would love to go back and count how many times she says, hurry up and faster. Because that was like her lines. Like, whenever you want to add this, just add it. But all you're going to say is hurry up, go faster, keep going, those kind of things. She said that a lot. But then, all of a sudden, he's working and not sailing, and she's on the boat with someone else, telling them to go faster. And I was like, well, Jackie's a little sailing whore is what she is. Like, she's just jumping around. She's just there for the sailboats.
Maybe she's from a desert land and not used to the water and just excited to see the water.
I don't know. So then the thing happens at the end, and Mike's in the water, and she's panicked and freaking out and having like this shock.
Right.
I'm like, the whole time you're just jumping around from boy to boy with a sailboat. That's all you want is a sailboat. Shut up, Jackie. I didn't like her. She can go. Like the curly cousin, she was cute. She can stay. Jackie's got to go. Is she in our murder screw kill thing?
Right.
She's murder and killed both of them. She can get both of them.
I don't know if my least favorite. For overall, I like it's some of it's cheesy. I mean, incredibly cheesy. Even the stuff like the divers in the band taking poses at the wreckage of the Orca, and just really, really cheesy, but it's fun. It's really fun in that way. So I dug it. Anything you stuck out that you didn't like? Outside being not as good as Jaws.
The middle part of the movie before the kids go out into the water kind of drags.
A little bit.
Because, really, if you look at it, the first half of the movie is all about Brody dealing with this PTSD, if you will, of the first movie and possibly seeing problems again rising and nobody believing him. So it's all Brody-centric with just some cutaway shots, these scenes randomly of the kids. Yeah, you need to set up who these kids are,
right.
But at that point, it's like, get on with it. And then the second half of the movie is about the kids, and Brody's just like, okay, I'm going after you, and he's not really doing anything.
I'm going to save you, kids. I am.
Yeah, so
I'll figure
I
out
really
this boat
like
really
Brody
good.
in the first half, and then the second half, it's like they gave him nothing to do other than just, I'm in the boat going after him. And so he's very...
It's probably Roy Scheider going, okay, I will do this movie, but I will only do like this much of this movie. So this is what, it's going to...
So it's almost like two movies kind of combined, and I didn't really like the scenes with the kids in the first half, and I didn't really like the scenes with Brody in the second half.
So if you could change that, what would you do differently?
I don't know.
Would you change Brody or would you change the kids?
No, I like the kids, but I think maybe focus more on them and make the movie about them specifically. Right. Make it about Mike, but then that would kind of take away from Brody's character.
So. I think you hype up the peril, make it a little harder for them to go get to. I mean, we skipped some stuff. There's a helicopter that comes in and almost rescue, and then Jaws eats the helicopter. And so I got to that. I'm like, oh, skip it. It's just too ridiculous and something we'll just talk about later. But that happens. I would just up. I would make sure both boys are still out there, giving Brody all the motivation to go out there. So you have almost like an open water situation, and then you also have like this rescue trying to get to it.
I love the whole part of their boats all wrecked, and they're just on the wreckage and just kind of floating, and they don't know what they're. And the resourcefulness that you talked about with and how they were really actively trying to think about what to do in their situation, and I love that. I thought that was great.
Which is something that didn't really get picked up in subsequent horror films, not just Jaws movies, but just horror films in general, because the trope is really, and it's true, that they're not very bright. None of the teens are very bright. These guys are like, okay, so we're on the water. What we got? The shark trying to kill us. Let's band these boats together because we got to survive. What else extra do we have? I mean, the only thing they didn't do was build weapons, and so it's like it was.
Well, even like as they were getting close to the Junction Island, a couple of the guys start paddling, and then someone says, "The shark's in the water," and they pull their hands up out of the water. And immediately, it's like, "Oh yeah,
you're right. We forgot about the sharks. Yeah, cool."
So what if now, having not seen the first one, but we were talking about how at the beginning, Brody, you could tell that he was still dealing with some sort of residual effects from the first film and the first incident, as you will. So in the second half, he goes after the kids, and you see that he slightly hesitates on the boat, but it doesn't feel like he ever had anything where he had to overcome anything.
You're
So
right.
while like you could have kept it the same and had the kids in the same situation, but while he was on the way, he had to overcome obstacles mentally to get to them. If they added that, would it be better?
Yeah, I think it would be, and maybe prolong them out in the water. Maybe give them, which like I said, I really like that whole sequence there. But Brody just feels useless. So
Yeah.
maybe doing something like that where it gives him a little more something to overcome, because he really his conflict is just I gotta save my kids.
Yeah.
At that point.
But he's still, if he like, I thought he was scared of boats because of the incident. But if that's something that he's always had a fear of, I'm a parent and I'm going to do anything for my kids. But if you're scared of something, you still have to overcome that. There's still that moment where you have to center yourself and get past that fear. And it's like as soon as they hit the boat with the girl and she says there's a shark, which there's a thing that had terrorized him before. He was just like, all right, cool, you guys stay here. I'm going to take this boat. Which way am I going? Doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. And then he takes off.
It's kind of
And then
like
he gets to the island or the lighthouse and he's like, I'm alone. And then he just goes again. Like, it's not like there's no, you don't see any struggle. I think if
Right.
he had his own personal struggle, he didn't necessarily have to have it with the shark or with the kids. That might have helped with his.
Well, and if you want to compare this with the first movie, which I know you haven't seen yet, but
I think he said yet.
the whole
Maybe. We'll see.
the whole
Steve will show it to you. He's going to kidnap you. He's going to show it to you.
but basically Act 3 is that exact struggle that you're talking about,
Yeah.
but it's the three characters that are basically stranded, or they kind of become stranded, but they're falling apart, and literally the boat is falling apart too. So it becomes this situation where they're in desperate need, and each one of the characters has its own kind of their own motivation and having to fight the shark. And I think that's missing in this movie.
Yeah.
So now we move on to our libations,
Oh, yes.
because our Lady of Libations is again being a witch. So,
Get it,
but she
girl.
has picked a drink for us. So the next time you watch Jaws 2, or if you listen to this podcast, the first time you watch Jaws 2, you can enjoy while watching Jaws 2.
Which she informed us she has had before and said it was delightful.
All right.
So that's her recommendation. It's called Shark Bait. It has. Does she normally do the amounts? Obviously, so people can make it.
Right.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm new to this. Okay, so 3/4 an ounce of Captain Morgan spiced rum, which is delicious. 3/4 an ounce of light rum, which is also delicious. 1/2 an ounce of blue curacao.
Curacao.
Thank you.
Curacao. It's an
What-
island.
Wasn't that a Japanese filmmaker?
Well, they made
Akira
him into
Kurosawa.
Kurosawa.
beverage. He was so good. 1.5 ounce sour mix and 3 drops of grenadine. So you're going to fill a cocktail shaker with ice. It's a good first start. Pour in all of the ingredients except for the grenadine. That's going to come in later. Shake it well and strain into an old-fashioned glass. If you have a new-fashioned glass, it's not good enough. It has to be old-fashioned. Throw it out. Get something old-fashioned.
Go to the Goodwill. Get your glasses.
Yeah, get you a good one. Drop the grenadine over an ice cube and serve quickly so it looks like blood in the water. The picture of this is kind of nice, though.
We'll post it on the show notes with the recipe itself. Well, thank you very much. Good job, Pinch.
Thank
hitting.
you. She can have it back when she comes back.
I did manage to find some apocrypha for this film.
I like that word.
I do too. That's why we use it. So this film had another director beforehand, John Hancock.
John Hancock, yes.
He did, and with Dorothy Tristan writing it, and originally had a different tone and premise. He actually worked on it for about a month before they fired him because they thought that the tone and premise was a little too dark. The two had envisioned Amity as sort of this ghost town, and then the film opened, there were several businesses shuttered, which to me makes sense with all this stuff happening.
I kind of like that.
I do. It's darker than what they end up doing. The film's opened with several businesses shuttered, and the island's overall economy is in ruin due to the events of the first film. The new resort and condos built on the island by the developer Lee Peterson were there to help celebrate the rebirth of the island's economy and much-needed boost. Tristan had borrowed a subplot from the original Jaws novel, which I have not read. I bet you have.
I have.
Yeah.
But it's been a while, so I don't recall a lot of details.
Jaws novel, maybe I'll get to remind you. Jaws novel had a discard in an early draft of the first film in which Amity officials were in debt to the mafia.
Yeah.
Both Mayor Vaughn and Lee Peterson were anxious about the New Island result and not being a success, because of the mafia. But they cut this. They fired Hancock pretty early on, and they dropped it. They had a rewrite on the script. Spielberg also said at a San Francisco Film Festival that making a sequel to anything is just cheap carny trip. That was before he made sequels. And then he didn't even respond to the producers when they asked him to direct. He claimed that he planned a planned plot to involve the sons of Quint and Brody hunting a new shark would have been interesting. David Brown said that Spielberg did not even want to direct this film because he had done the definitive shark movie. The director later said that his decision was influenced by the problems of Jaws. He didn't want to go through that again. I don't blame him. Making the first movie was a nightmare.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and they tried to solve a lot of the problems of shooting out on the water off of Martha's Vineyard,
right,
by changing the location of where they were shooting.
It's true.
And so they came down to Northwest Florida,
right,
and
near us.
Shot it at Navarre Beach.
How far are you from Navarre Beach?
About a half an hour.
Yeah, it's not too far from you.
Yeah, I live in Pensacola.
Right.
So
I've been
how
to Navarre
long was it between Jaws and Jaws 2?
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, Jaws was such a mega hit, and the studio needed a sequel.
No, I mean like actually in the story.
Oh,
Yeah, not like when it came out. In the story.
Question,
So-
because those movies don't have very good timelines.
Right. because Mike, judging by he's got to be 11 in the first one.
I think he was like 12.
All right, so if he's okay, then I kind of buy it because my research said 4 years, and he's 16-ish.
Do you have to have a boating license to sail?
I think the actor's like 21, but he's supposed to be like. I'm not a good question.
Look this up
Because then he would be 16. Or is like a boating license, like your motorcycle license. You
If
get
you
it
go
like
by
15.
the actors, the actor who plays Mike in Jaws 2 is older than the actor who played Mike in
Jaws
the first
one,
movie.
right?
But the Sean, the same thing. The actor in Jaws 2 is older, but only by 2 years.
Right.
Where Mike is older by like 6 years.
Right. Because
that's a magical
He looks
child.
like he's 21 when he's like, "I'm dad." I'm like, "Are you sure you're a teenager?"
They all looked older in
You're
that time.
plugging
yeah.
beers.
But then you go to Jaws 3 that was released in '83.
Right.
And so 5 years later, and suddenly Sean is in college and Mike is a marine biologist.
Is that the one Dennis Quaid's in? Is Mike? Is it about Dennis Quaid?
I have no idea.
I am
Don't look at
now
me.
looking at
I don't
it.
even know who that is.
Dennis Quaid was in that movie, yes. And Lou Gossett, Bess Armstrong,
I keep
Simon
getting-
McCorkindale.
I will
It's
say
sad that I know all the actors.
No, it's not sad at all. It's wonderful. It's absolutely. So yeah, this is my job on the podcast. I'm like this. I know stuff, and so my other co-hosts just kind of stare at me. So it's good for a while to have someone else to do that role.
Leah Thompson played Sean's girlfriend.
Oh, that's intense. No, please keep going. Who was the butcher of the meats that they bought?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid is Mike in
produce
that.
From?
And Jaws
Dennis
3.
Quaid played Mike.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid played Mike.
And then
Who's Dennis Quaid? How do I know him?
I have him on. I was going to list a lot of movies, but I now know that you have not seen those. So.
And then in Jaws Revenge, Lance Guest played Mike, who
Oh, yeah.
was somehow younger. And Lance Guest was known from The Last Starfighter.
That's true. Which I hear maybe getting another reboot.
Yeah.
I keep hearing that, but they keep dropping it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you would do it. Mobile Gaps games or something. Oh, Last Starfire's a show. That's a movie we need to do on the show. So there were some 5 scenes edited from the theatrical cut that were re-edited in the television version.
Yeah. They did that a lot back then.
They had to fill time. There's a lot of that. That's how we got the extended cut of Dune. Because that exists. Because
We credited to
yours,
Alan
mine, and
Smithy.
ours. I've seen that.
What year
Is he
was
the
it?
dad?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I know him.
All right. So
2004.
So you had to go from
2005.
How many credits? I don't know how many credits you got to him, but I'm glad you know him. That's important.
I had to scroll for a while, but I found it, guys. Got there.
So Ellen Brody adds wine to the fruit punch and tells the waitress to smile and look cute.
Oh, the Parent Trap. I know that one too. So sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Brody gives another one is Brody gives Peterson a parking ticket because he was parking in a no parking zone. Peterson tries to talk Brody out of it, and he tells him just pay the expense, pay the $2.
$2 parking ticket?
Yeah. In 1978, that's a lot of money.
It's like postage, guys.
here's what you were talking about earlier. The council argues about the incident on the beach before Brody turns up. The photograph, Lynn Peterson wears down Vaughn until he agrees that the action needed to be taken against Brody. The council goes to Mayor Vaughn's office and they take a vote to fire Brody. Mayor Vaughn also votes against Brody's firing. And then the shark attack on the helicopter is actually more dramatic. The shark attacks him after the helicopter capsized.
Yeah, and you see him underwater and trying to get out of the cabin.
Wait, and the I guess it wasn't the first draft. An early draft is he survives. Him and the girl who goes on.
You know why?
Please tell us.
Because the initial draft of the script, Universal was afraid that it was going to be R-rated, and they could not afford an R rating. You know, we think that the PG-13 rating, that all the movies nowadays are PG-13 for financial reasons.
Right.
This is nothing new. So in 1978, they were worried that their precious franchise that they were trying to build was not going to have the audience that they wanted, because teenagers wouldn't be able to see the movie if it got an R rating. And so they needed to cut down the number of deaths in the movie. And so they said, and they also were afraid that having too many teenagers killed would create and give them an R rating.
Right.
And so they changed the draft of the script to where instead of being eaten by the shark, the girl that helps Sean up, the shark swims past her and she disappears. But lo and behold, she helped the helicopter pilot out of the helicopter that's been capsized, and they swim away on the opposite side of the helicopter, and so the rest of the kids don't see that, and they think that she's dead. So they still have that emotional reaction.
Yeah, and the helicopter capsizes in it, but there's an air pocket created, so that's why he's still not dead.
Right. I'm not dead.
I'm not dead yet. And another reason why, because there was no PG-13 back then. It was PG, R, and G, and then
and the first Jaws was PG.
Yeah, first, it was. Moving on to bar trivia. So. This is the first Hollywood sequel to actually use the number 2.
The numeral 2.
The numeral 2.
There had been another movie that used Roman numerals.
Right, as opposed to Roman numerals. The first film to ever do this actually was a British film, Quartermass 2 in 1957, and Sweeney 2 in 1978. That was also released right before Jaws. So we're talking about Roy Scheider here for a minute. He got paid $400,000 to reprise the role of Sheriff Brody. 4 times what he got in the original Jaws. He was supposed to be in The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
Which came out the same year. He did not feel his part was big enough, or
makes me wonder what character he was supposed to play.
I had it and I didn't write it down, but he didn't feel like he would go to save his buddy. There was a lot. He had story problems, a lot of discredited differences, so he didn't. He dropped out of that. So Universal offered him this, and he had to do this to really get out of that contract. He was contract bound. So he's like, okay, I'll do this one. And then they freed him from his contract. So he did other things. But he hated this film.
And actually, he had a 3-picture deal, and he had 2 movies left for that. And they said, do this one, and it counts for 2.
Right. We'll forget the last one if you just do. Because they knew, I think concerned they're looking at The Deer Hunter and then Jaws 2. There's like, well, The Deer Hunter will do what it does, but Jaws 2 will make us the money. Mm-hmm. So let's put him in it and he'll make the money. So he did it. And they paid $400,000 for what is a lot of money back then, but especially a lot of money for how much he's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of his, his island scenes, you probably could shot in a week, and he's just lounging on Pensacola Beach Navarre Beach for the rest of it, and then goes, all right, get in the boat for a little while and go kill some teenagers. I'll be back in a little bit. So my tie's over here. So this Jaws set off a cycle of, I guess we would call fish movies. So Jaws got 3 sequels: Jaws 2 in 1978, Jaws 3D in 1983, and then Jaws Revenge in 1987. I recommend Jaws 3D just because it's a movie. It also inspired Orca, Piranha, Tentacles, Killer Fish, Barracuda, Blood Beach.
I'm sorry, are those all different films?
These are all different movies.
Okay, continue.
No, that's all one long title.
I didn't know if you were just talking about animals. I was like, the animals didn't
tentacles.
reproduce
That's
to
what
make
studios
this
did. They were like
species
all
because
right,
of this
cool.
film.
All right, so cool. We'll do one piranha. That's an animal. Or orca. We'll do that one.
I like that they went with the actual
Have you seen
animal
Orca?
name instead of, I don't know, like this one's Jaws.
You ever seen Orca?
Oh yeah,
I saw Orca too.
yeah.
I had to see Orca because
Farrah Fawcett was in that.
Yeah, not good.
good at all.
Not good. Also, really inappropriate for small children to watch. I watched it way too young.
It was PG also.
It was PG also. But I remember Orca a lot because on the back of the Marvel comics, they had a lot of ads for Orca. There was this Orca has a great poster. And it was like, I got to see this fish movie. I did. Shouldn't have saw that fish movie. No.
Well, they also did another Peter Benchley adaptation, The Deep, which Robert Shaw was in that as well.
I did not know. I'm going to see The Deep now.
Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset.
How is it?
Okay.
Not Jaws.
It's better than another Peter Benchley adaptation with Michael Caine, The Island.
Oh, I've seen The Island, so it's
which
better
is
than
not good.
Yeah,
and not to be confused with the Michael Bay
movie,
The Island, which is also not good.
With Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson in that. So, due to difficulties with weather and environment, most of the movie was filmed in and around Fort Walton Beach, which we've already discussed, and the northwest panhandle of Florida. Many ocean scenes were actually shot in Chicotawee Bay. I guess that's how you say that. Cable Junction was actually a floating set made of a couple of barges that kept getting loose and sailing away. Had to go rescue that a few times.
Yeah. What was it? They were told, your floating island is floating to Cuba.
You need your get it back. Casting director Sherry Rhodes requested members of the Gulf Breeze band to perform as the Amity High Band, seen in the early parts of the movie at the hotel. The band consisted of approximately 100 members, and the band director chose 20 student musicians, including the band section known as the Henley Honkers. Universal scheduled their involvement for mid-afternoons to prevent them missing too much school. They contributed $3,500 to the school, which is a lot of money back then, and the band was paid for their part of the film, so they got $10 a day, which was pretty good for a teenager in Florida back then. So that's pretty cool.
Now, one other thing that's kind of, at least it's interesting to me.
Oh, yeah, please, share.
The production designer / associate producer / second unit director, Joe Alves.
A lot of hats.
Who later went on to direct Jaws 3D, I believe. Joe Alves worked on the first Jaws movie. He also had worked with Spielberg on Night Gallery.
Okay.
Which is where Jeannot Schwark, the ultimate director of Jaws 2, had also got his start. In fact, Spielberg and Schwark had shared an office.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So Joe Alves worked on Jaws. Spielberg then went on after Jaws to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was shot in Mobile.
Right.
And Joe Alves was the production designer on that.
Oh.
And so along the way, Spielberg kind of was still working on Close Encounters by the time that Jaws 2 went into production. So he wasn't really available, even if he wanted to do the film.
Right.
But they rehired Joe Alves, and he was familiar with the area. And he's like, you know what? There's a beach down here. And he went down and scoped out Navarre Beach, and that's why they shot it down there.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. I've thought in my head of them both making the same both movies at the same at the same time. Kind of is fun. Like, we're making this other movie in Mobile. What are y'all doing? Shark movie?
Shark movie.
Shark movie.
Well, Close Encounters wrapped before Jaws 2 started.
It wrapped way before Jaws 3.
But Spielberg was still, trying to get, because that whole movie was a little bit of a nightmare for him as well. But the pre-production, it was supposed to be released in '78,
right?
And because of the success of Star Wars in the summer of '77, Columbia Pictures said, we need to release it in Christmas. And so Spielberg had to very quickly edit the film and get it out.
Have you seen Close Encounters?
I was going to say that's not the little girl, but that's Poltergeist.
Yep.
I'm going to get that one day.
No, wait, we've had this conversation because you just said the same thing.
That's what I said.
I remember that now.
That's where it comes up every time we bring it up. I'm like, it's not the little girl. That's Poltergeist. It's not the little girl. Poltergeist is the thing with the TV.
Right.
Is Close Encounters the doo 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 that one?
Yeah.
And the thing
Close
comes and
enough.
lands.
This is what I love about Justine. She's not seen anything, but she knows a lot. She just
Yeah, like I know pieces of them and I can figure it out, but I have not seen it.
I'm gonna
No.
have to show you Close Encounters.
Okay.
And Poltergeist if you
Let's
want.
do
Yeah,
it.
the farmhouse from Close Encounters was recently up for sale.
Yeah, it's up for sale. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
in,
we saw that
It's in
because it's off of 181.
it's in Fairhope, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where it's at.
It's down 181 if you're going towards the Walmart in
Right.
Fairhope. It's just right there on the side of the road.
I kinda,
Just literally right
I
there.
need to just go buy it.
I'm surprised they didn't hide it. You know?
It's like $285,000 for not a very big house. So, because we joked about it,
because it's Fairhope.
and I was like, nope.
It's like it's in a movie. No, it's Fairhope.
No.
That's how Fairhope is.
And be like, oh, cool.
So how would our listeners at home like to win something? So here's our contest. This week's contest is easy. Just answer this question. So how would you kill a killer shark? So far we've had them blown up and then electrocuted.
Though I will tell you what I will not do. Pour gasoline on myself. Because that didn't work.
Does it not work?
It didn't work, guys. You can't use that. They already tried it in the film. It did not work.
So,
maybe spirit with the front end of the boat,
right.
like they did in Jaws of Revenge.
They did that in The Little Mermaid. You can't do that.
I kind of want to shoot it with a poison
That's
bullet.
right,
I just want to see that work.
Bigger bullets.
So how would you kill a killer shark? Comment on the contest page on our Facebook page with your answer, and you can win a Jaws 2 Scotty White prize pack, which includes a copy of the DVD viewed once. 3 autograph index cards, one by Christine Freeman, who plays Terry, the water skier, one by Thomas Dunlop, who plays Timmy, one of the nerds, and Billy Van Zant, who played Bob, who was one of the teenagers. I have 3 autographs from them, and that's pretty awesome, and I want to give them to you. Plus some other cool stuff from the Scotty White Company. So go ahead. You know what to do. You can just go to the Facebook page, and there will be a post, and you can just list all your answers. We will randomly select one, usually by random number generator, and then we'll send it out to you. Yay.
So I've been lost in thought since we did the alternate scenes or whatever that have been.
The Apocrypha?
Yeah. So, okay. The way that this film started, you have Brody rushing to get somewhere, and you just see this guy like in a hurry, not having seen any of the other films. So this is my first introduction to Jaws in general. Is he's in a hurry, and then he shows up to like this opening. So to me, what it does is it sets up this character as like his wife is more important than him. Like he just needs to be there because then she's like, "You're late. Just act like you've been bored." Like he's just her side piece. That's how it starts for me. Because not having seen the other ones, mind you, it's just he's in a hurry, but you can tell he's like some sort of police officer, and then he gets there, and it's just to be seen by other people.
Right.
And then you brought up the director that was on it before had the opening scene of like everything being boarded up and like needing to build the economy. You wouldn't necessarily need the rest of it, but I think if they would have just kept that scene, it would have set up that movie to be so much better just by switching that scene, because it would have given a deeper meaning to them needing to push that opening and why they were panicking so much about the investors and why they needed them. Like, it would have gave it a different perspective than, oh no, we just need it to be glamorous and amazing. We're going to drop balloons on this girl in a bathing suit. It's going to be great. Like, I think that would have changed so much of that film if you just would have put that scene in it.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I can see
I don't understand why that wasn't done.
It
Like,
puts some
somebody made a poor
it
decision there.
Totally put some motivation into the film that is not there. But
I
again,
think it would have changed a lot of it.
But I think studios are about this, and it's probably there in the first draft. I mean, to me, that's probably what's in the first draft.
Well, Jeannot Schwartz said that he brought in Howard Sackler and then Carl Gottlieb, who wrote the final draft of the first film, and because he didn't feel like there was enough character development.
Right. Look at there.
I think that would have helped. That would have, at least it would have explained a lot of their mannerisms, like why it's like, no, we don't talk about it. No, we don't do that. Like that's not. So it just seems like they just play him off like he's a crazy person who just needs to be there to make his wife look good, and like it's all of the other stuff that might have happened in the first one. Having not seen it, is just brushed aside, and it's like, no, this is just a madman on the
what
island.
That reminds me of is Poltergeist 2. Which the beginning is the neighborhood that the first movie took place in.
Right.
That is all deserted, and it's like, oh, we see the effects of what happened.
Oh yeah, because the chief goes and Goes underground. And oh yeah, Poltergeist 2. I haven't seen in so long.
So we're gonna do that one. You're not gonna want me to watch Poltergeist 1. You're just gonna make me watch the second one first now.
Kind of do that. We did the second movie we did on the podcast was Star Trek First Contact. She's never seen a Star Trek movie, so I just put her in the 8th one and went, "Good luck."
That was the worst experience in this.
Good luck.
This podcast we do together.
Enjoy this.
I think what it did is make me hate Star Trek. I think that's what you did. Is you created this feeling where I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't.
We'll bring you back around. It'll be fine.
Anyway, so I think that would have changed a lot for that film. Just that simple thing.
So before we go, I have some fun facts. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Yes.
Fun facts about great white sharks.
Oh, I mean, I guess. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Great whites on average get about 15 feet long, but some of them have been measured over 20 feet long. Those are big sharks. Great whites can swim over 37 miles per hour. I guess that boat was much slower than 37 miles an hour, or that was a super.
No, this was a super shark.
Super shark.
Doesn't count.
Jaws 2 was like, I can do 68.
Revenge does that to you, man. Pick up some cars and stuff.
Great whites have 300 sharp triangular teeth arranged in 7 rows. There have been 5 to 10. There are on average about 5 to 10 great white attacks on humans each year, but researchers don't think they're preying on humans, just taking sample bites and moving on.
Nom, nom.
Nipping.
Nom, nom, nom. Great whites have a strong sense of smell. They can detect a colony of seals 2 miles away. Also, if you put a single drop of water in 26 gallons of water, they can smell it. Great white pups are able to take care of themselves as soon as they're born because, well, mom will probably eat them.
So like they come out and like, save yourself, like Hunger Games. They just have to immediately swim
up,
away.
It's like we're born, life is, oh my God. And they just start
Whoever's
running.
the slowest dies.
Pretty much.
That's intense, man.
That will be the plot of Jaws 5.
Yeah.
Some facts about shark attacks.
That's how the revenge sharks are born. Like they just keep coming from the same bloodline.
So how many? This is a question for the audience here, for you two. How many shark attacks unprovoked shark attacks are reported each year?
Reported or happened?
Reported.
Worldwide
a year.
Maybe about 60.
Oh no! I'm gonna think 459.
80.
Okay, well, I was really shooting for sharks there. Like, get it, guys.
Get together, sharks. I don't know if sharks listen to the podcast, but you know, it's good to know that you're rooting for them.
I got you, buddy.
The great white, the tiger, and the bull shark are responsible for the double-digit numbers of fatal, unprovoked attacks on humans. Between 1958 and
because they're bullies.
Between 1958 and 2018, there were 1,104 attacks with 35 fatalities in the United States, not counting Hawaii. The last fatality was in 2018. Between 1958 and 2018, there were 137 attacks and 11 deaths in Hawaii. The last one happening in May of this year, 2019, for those who are listening in the future. That involved a 65-year-old man who was attacked while swimming. The shark bit in his torso and ate his left leg below the knee.
Ouch.
It's just a snack.
He was a notable people who have survived shark attacks. Bethany Hamilton, the pro surfer who lost her left arm but returned to surfing. Film Soul Surfer was released based on her autobiography of the same name, so that really happened. Rodney Fox, an Australian filmmaker, he had massive injuries, still has a shark tooth embedded in his wrist. He's the first to develop the underwater observation cage for sharks.
So he's like, I'm going to take the shark tooth and I'm going to make a cage so we can all see the sharks.
The cage that was featured in the first Jaws film?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Built by the Australian filmmaker. Very nice. So, paying the tab. This one's a little hard because Box Office Mojo only goes really detailed to 1982. 81's got some details. This was
do you know how much a shark has to eat? Like, needs to eat?
No,
requires?
Homework for next week.
Oh, gosh. Hold on. I got to get my notebook.
Homework for next week.
Because I need to know if that leg really satisfied the shark or if that shark was just teasing itself.
Well, sharks will just eat anything.
Right, they will. So Jaws 2 was released on June 16th, 1978 with a budget estimated at $20 million. It made $106 million worldwide with an opening weekend of $9.8 million. Really good. Really, really good. It did really well. Top movies of the year were Jaws 2, Halloween, The Deer Hunter, Grease, and Superman 2. So, yay. That was Jaws 2. Would you recommend this film?
I would recommend it. I think
would
it's a fun movie. It's obviously not as good as the original film, but it really is a nice little adventure film, and it's fun and kind of scary in a couple scenes.
So when showing this, would you pair this with Jaws, or would you show Jaws first and like we're going to wait a little while, but then?
I don't know if I would show it immediately after seeing the first film.
Or show Jaws 2 first and go, wait, it gets better. It gets better.
Well, that's the way I saw it first, so yeah, maybe that would be the better way.
It worked out for you. Justina, what about you?
Well, I think if they changed that first scene, I would recommend it more. But it would be interesting to watch them together. I feel like it would be interesting to watch them together. But now I'm curious to see the effects of like what happens the first one, and then do they just go straight into like the teenagers sailing in the second one? Like everybody's like, nah, cool, we're just gonna hang out.
Well,
like,
it's nice, like for instance, to see the orca at the beginning of this movie, because that is obviously the ship or the boat that they had in the first film, and so it's like, oh, the orca, cool. Yeah. But there's not a whole lot of throwbacks to the first movie. Which is actually great, and let me say this too, real quick, is that this is a completely different kind of movie, and I think that in that regard, it is a successful sequel. And
I didn't need to see the first one to watch this one. I did appreciate that I wasn't lost the whole time.
But they didn't just retread the same plot; they did something different.
Yeah.
I applaud what they tried to do. There's a lot of missteps, but I think it's just limits of technology and time and script. But it's fun though. It really is fun. It's kind of like a slasher film. I mean, it's set up like a slasher film, and it's.
Do you like slasher films, Scotty?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, Halloween's fun. I like.
They hit your heart.
Not really, but I do enjoy a good one.
If they're slashing right, they'd hit your heart.
Exactly. You have to slash really good, like in a Z format. But it's a fun movie. It's something I definitely, if you're gonna have a shark bite to drink, I would definitely with alcohol.
I'm gonna try to make that look so beautiful.
Do a viewing of Jaws 3D.
I do wonder though if they had just cut Brody out of the film completely and just focused on the teenagers the entire film.
I think it works, minus the fact that you got to have someone. How do you do the rescue, or do the teens rescue themselves?
They rescue themselves.
I think so too, because they are pretty handy.
See all that rope they had? They had lots of rope.
Lots of rope.
They got this.
So, Steve, we talked about your film. Remind everybody else where they can see it.
The film is called Survey, and if you are in the Pensacola area, you may come by Sam's Fun City Saturday the 14th at 7 p.m. to see my film and a couple others, and watch a cast and crew Q&A. It's free. You don't have to pay admission to go in.
Even better. And if anybody wants to hunt you down on the internet, can they do that?
It is. Hunt me down on the internet?
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. And don't ask me what the URLs for everything.
That's all right. We'll find them and we'll put them on the show notes. How about that? We'll do that. You can find me at Scotty White on Twitter, Scotty White on Instagram. Of course, you can go to the Facebook at facebook.com/cultmoviecantina to find everything, and just Dina, because she's. Yeah,
if you just want to find me, stalk Scotty. I'm on there. And then you got me. Done.
Everything else you can find on scottywhite.com.
I don't know my stuff. I think it's just my name. I don't know.
It is. It's just. I know your stuff.
Nobody has my name,
but you
so
don't really
post
a lot, so
I don't.
So I don't.
I do. I like and heart.
Yeah, she likes and hearts everything.
Yeah, I do.
So.
Not a lot of angry. I don't think I've ever used the anger one.
Is there an anger one?
On the reactions?
Is there an anger one?
There's an anger one.
See, Scotty hasn't either. We're very optimistic people up top, buddy.
right there.
Oh, there it is.
I'm mostly hearts and wow, because
I've done the wow.
Because I just think Owen Wilson. Wow.
I didn't think that, but now I will.
Now you do. You click it.
Thanks.
Wow.
Appreciate that.
There's a laughing one too.
Oh, there's a laughing one. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done that one too. It's just not the anger. I'm not an angry person.
A shark one.
Thank you everybody for listening. This is me saying. This is our contribution to the multiverse. Go out and make yours. Goodbye! Baby shark! Baby shark! Baby shark! Baby shark! Mama shark! Mama shark! Mama shark! Mama shark! Daddy shark! Daddy shark!
Thank you for listening to the Mopcast Network.